This is truly an AI CFO. And like you talk to it just like you will with a human person. And one of the killer kind of things about Noom, which is the name of and the brand of our AI CFO, is that it's not like like if you think about, I don't know, ChatGPT or Claude or whatever AI product you might think about, like the value you get out of that is all based on like how many times you hit your keyboard and say, hey, give me an answer to this, or hey, help me with that. Noom is proactive.
Wow, then I'm Sean Gold, today's guest on ToolThinker.
Would allow me to let go of my 9-to-5 job.
Let's dig a little bit deeper. Who do we really want to target here? And that's where you live.
Sometimes.
If you love long night, then be a startup founder. Just do it. Take the leap.
I always said it, the boss, even for the money that we were earning.
You have to pivot or else you'll run out of money.
Welcome to ToolThinker.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're most welcome. And you are CEO of Scale Up. That's the name of your company?
Yeah, we have it in the background. The name is actually Scale Up Finance, but you're right. I always just say Scale Up myself.
Okay. And I was just reading your info that you sent me before this interview. It looks like you've always been an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I think I'm a pretty classical founder in the sense that I've never tried anything else. I've never been into any big corporate, and my big nightmare is that has always been that I had to go into corporate life.
It's not your thing, eh?
No. Well, I haven't tried it, so I don't know. But I think most people that knows me today, they could not imagine me working in a corporate.
Yeah. And like while you were in school or before school, were you doing any business ventures at all?
No, I actually thought that I actually for a very long time, all up till maybe I got 19, 20, I thought I was actually going into corporate, and I had to climb the corporate ladder. But then when I started at business school, like it was like just from one moment to the other, I suddenly realized, well, you don't need to work for others. You can start your own companies, and like that's 10 times better. It actually started with like I got an idea to write a book, and like many people whoever got an idea to write a book, and getting declined by a lot of publishers. It was the same for me and my co-author, until like we just continued and continued to pitch, and then like after half a year we actually got a publishing contract, and then wrote this book, and a lot of people told us we are crazy to write this book because it was like the audience were young people, and a lot of the publishers they told us no, like you can't really write this book because nobody will buy it. Young people, they don't buy books anymore, they read everything online. But not too long after we ended up publishing it, it actually became the #1 bestseller in Denmark. And I think that was actually the moment where I was like, of course, a book is not a company, but it was the first time I really realized, well, like this book was like came out of me and my co-author's brain. It was an idea, a vision we got. Like, why not turn that into companies, businesses? And the funny story is that it was actually after an exam, we went down to this local pub and got really drunk. And it was during that evening that we like suddenly we were joking about this idea that you could write. So the book was about how to get high grades in high school. So we call it the grade game. The game about the grades. And so we were just joking, hey, because we got pretty high GPAs. I actually got the highest GPA in my high school. And I just felt like there are so many tricks that you could do to up your GPA. So it started out as a joke in a bar, and we were really drunk, but that idea never left my brain over that weekend. So I remember going back to uni on Monday. It was the first thing I told Peter. I said, Peter, like that idea we got last Friday, I actually think there's something there. Like, let's fucking pursue it. And then, we did. Yeah.
But here's the thing. Most people, when they go to business school, they learn to manage. How did you manage to learn to how did you get the idea that, okay, I'm going to start a business? Because a lot of people, like so much people to go to business school, and they leave there, they're just looking for the corporate ladder to climb. They're
Yeah.
looking to hold a position in a corporation and hopefully get up to a director or a chief or something of the sort. But you went to business school and you saw that you could start a startup, which they say they don't teach in business school. So how did you learn that?
Mm. Yeah, I remember I even had a course in entrepreneurship, and looking back, it was just the most ironic thing, to study about entrepreneurship when entrepreneurship is just something you do in real life. So the Danish educational system, for example, when you go to business schools in Denmark, it's like almost expected of you that you have what we call like student jobs. So you
Mm-hmm.
work 15 to 20 hours while studying, and if you
Right.
don't do that, like it will be very difficult for you to get a job once you graduate. So that's like expected. But the thing is that then you have all these top tier employers. I don't know, Microsoft, some of the big banks, and where all the business students and they have, I don't know, a handful or two handful of jobs that are for people that are still studying. So, and they get hundreds and hundreds of applications. So remember, I was talking to Peter and another guy we were studying with one day that it doesn't make sense for us to just compete with the masses, like it's just going into a headwind. So, and these jobs anyway, it's just some stupid work you're doing, getting coffee with all the big guys. So while we're studying, we know it's expected of us that we need to do something while studying.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start a business instead. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
our own business. That's how we can apply what we are being taught right now, what we are trying to
Mm-hmm.
learn in practice, and we will learn 10 times more. So actually the first company we started, which became quite successful, and I was there for 11 years building it up. We never anticipated or expected it really to be successful. We
Mm-hmm.
only did it because we thought we'll probably learn much more than
That is
than
cool.
taking one of these student jobs.
That's So when you started to tell people that, hey, I'm gonna start a company, did they support you, or they were like, hey, you're crazy?
I'd say definitely there were a lot of people supporting. My father has always been pretty supportive, but I remember looking him in the eyes, and I still felt like the
Mm-hmm.
read that I could get out of him was that you are a little bit crazy right now, Alex. He wasn't so much like this because but when the first time when I told him I wanted to write a book, he was like, yeah, okay, that sounds maybe like a good idea. So he was trying to be supportive, but I could
Mm-hmm.
see in his eyes, he was like, I don't think you're going to succeed with that.
But you were very young at that time, right? Like when you started your first company, you were in school, what, 19 or
Yeah,
something like that?
yeah, 19, 20 years, something like that. Yeah.
That's very young, very young. And then, so did you go and read any books about startups, starting a company, or you're just learning as you're going up until this point? Apart from
Um,
business school, but
yeah. Uh, I feel like what I learned at business school was just pure garbage. Like maybe I don't mean it in such a strict sense, but it's just like, well, let me just say that there's not a thing I remember from Copenhagen Business School that I really feel I'm using today. But like the nuance here is probably that it is good to have some kind of education behind you, but yeah,
mm-hmm,
but it's just like what I typically say is it's not what you are being taught. It's more like it's more you get the ability to actually learn. Like they are teaching you like techniques and like a method. That's
mm-hmm,
that's really what you get out of it. Not really the information itself, I would say, to a
to
large
do it
extent.
right. And
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, I mean, especially starting a company, you're doing a startup. It's usually so unique that you can't really apply what you learned in business school. It's more like you're experimenting and you learn and pivot as you experiment. Did you find it to be that way with your first company?
Yeah, 100%. One long series of iterations, just trying, you know. trying something, see if it works, try something different. Um, so my first company, it was very different to Scale Up Finance, yeah, which is like this, like we have built an AI CFO, and I've been building now for 4 years. So like it's software, right? The
Mm-hmm.
first company I started was actually a deep tech company. We developed a new type of concrete, so like the building material concrete. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been on many building sites and in many factories, and that took we had many years in the start where we didn't have a product. We had to develop this new material.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that was a lot of iterations, a lot of
Wow.
iterations.
So, I mean, you don't have a science background. You went to and you just decided that you wanted to create a new concrete. Like where did that come from?
Yeah, it was probably also a crazy idea looking back.
And how far did that company go?
No, it's still alive and it's profitable, and my previous co-founder is still running it. I exited my share 4 years ago
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to start Scale Finance with a new group of co-founders. Um, yeah.
And so you took that company up until, a point where you decide to do your exit. What made you decide to leave? I mean, a lot of people, they're probably attached. It's your first company. It's successful. It's giving you credibility. How do you leave something like that?
Yeah, it was also an extremely difficult decision on one side, and then actually I'd say a pretty easy decision on the other. So you just have to think about the fact that I spent 11 years. Sometimes I joke that it stole my 20s away. I was there
Mm-hmm.
from I was 20 to 31.
Mm-hmm.
Then and when I left, we had come very, very far. And I just felt this urge inside me to build something new. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
11 years these days is almost like a life,
Mm-hmm.
a complete life, right? A lot of young people nowadays, they work 2 or 3 years the same place. So I have this like creatorship gene inside me, I think. And I just felt like we had accomplished so much of what we wanted to do when we started the company that it was like it was not as exciting to me anymore. And I just yeah, I wanted to build something new, and I really wanted to build a tech company, like a software company.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up making the decision. It was actually over a weekend. From suddenly I knew that I probably needed to find something new, and then suddenly
Yeah.
it just came to me.
Do you ever see yourself staying with a company and just being CEO and, just staying with that company as opposed to being at the startup stage where all the action is happening?
I feel like I actually did it to a large extent in my previous company, right? 11 years was a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely there for the long haul when I do things.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get successful overnight. So if you start a company, you need to be there. You need to stick it out. Yeah, I could definitely like with Skilla Finance right now, what we're building and like our vision for this company. I think we can do something truly amazing. I think we are doing something truly amazing right now, and it has very big implications building this AI CFO. So I could definitely see myself being in this company for many, many years to come. But I also know myself well enough.
Mm-hmm.
10 or 15 years from now, we are
You never
probably
know.
talking about a completely different future and situation. And at that point, I might, want to do something new. Let's see.
Why AI and why finance?
So when I left my previous company, I was like, what do I want to do now? And I kind of came to the conclusion that I wanted to solve the biggest problem that I had experienced in my previous company, the
Mm-hmm.
biggest problem, the biggest pain point that I had continuously heard from every other founder I knew, every other small business, and that was financial management.
Yeah.
Financial management, it is such a big pain point for small companies. The thing is that most small companies, they don't have a CFO.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the finance function is actually kind of run by the founder, the CEO, him or herself, which is a huge problem because most founders or CEOs don't have a financial background.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they need to focus, on building product and selling that product, and then you have like this kind of back office administrative thing that is haunting you and causing sleepless nights.
Mm-hmm.
Most founders I know, they will all testament to the fact that they have this monster of a spreadsheet that they've built up with that is manual and error prone, and they're trying to extract that data out of their ERP system and their CRM system and blah blah blah, and
Mm-hmm.
take it in there, and then they need to do some reporting, and they need to forecast their runway, and it's just an enormous pain point. So
Mm-hmm.
finance for small companies and startups is very different to how it's run in large companies. There you have a professional finance function, right? And you have
Mm-hmm.
like not only one person, you have an entire team of bookkeepers and controllers, head of finance, head of FP&A, and then you have a CFO. Take a startup, small company with less than 50 employees.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have some data on this, and I think it's around 92% of all companies that are below this kind of threshold in terms of how many employees they have, and they don't have a CFO. And the reason is it's pretty logical. First
Mm-hmm.
of all, they don't have enough money to hire such an expensive person, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, they don't have enough financial tasks in their company to really justify hiring a full-time person. So I don't know if catch-22 is really the right way to describe it, but there is this huge challenge in the sense that, it's very binary. Either you have an internal finance employee or you don't. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and due to the reasons just said, in these companies, they just don't. But a lot of startups, as a startup, especially today, you're being pressured and forced to professionalize very, very early on, which is really a problem. Then, like, you need to have a very professional finance
Mm-hmm.
function,
Mm-hmm.
but you simply just can't afford like the competencies
Yeah,
and get that into your company.
to do that, and you can't do it without it at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
That's the
Right.
catch-22.
Mm-hmm. So okay, so you saw the struggle in your last company, and you decided that, hey, I need to create a solution for this struggle. And then after you decided that you wanted to do it, what were your first steps?
So I'm lucky to not be alone in this company. We are actually six co-founders. And two of them I know very well. Is Nikolai is one of my co-founders, and know him way back. We actually were very good friends and have been for many many years. We started our very first company together when we were teens, just like this simple e-commerce shop. But it was actually Nikolai that first kind of came with this idea. We are going to my parents' summer house.
Mm-hmm.
Me, Nikolai, and a group of friends, and and he just kept talking. He was actually running another fintech startup where
Mm-hmm.
he was the CFO,
Mm-hmm.
and then he came up with this idea with another entrepreneur about starting Scale Finance to solve this problem, because so many startups was contacting him and saying,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, like, you are actually a CFO. You're also a founder, but you have an auditing background.
Mm-hmm.
So we have heard you have some really, really crazy spreadsheets, that all your investors love to see. Is it possible for us to get some kind of version of the spreadsheet? Can you like
Mm-hmm.
set it up for our company?" And I
Mm-hmm.
think after he had been approached like 10 or 15 times, he was like, maybe there is like a more widespread problem out there, since everybody
Mm-hmm.
are asking if I can help them out. So he kept talking about this in during this weekend in my parents' summer house, and that was actually the light bulb moment for me,
Mm-hmm.
because like I had been sitting with that problem myself,
Yeah.
and he said that they wanted another co-founder to like be the CEO. So on my way back in my car to Copenhagen from the summer house, that was where in that moment I was like, this is what you're destined to join and now build, because this is one of the biggest problems out there. It's a huge problem. And then actually it was one phone call, and then he said, "Let's do it, man." And then I started my process with my previous co-founder. And said, this is in very good shape, and I know you will do amazing. But I think I need to do this new thing.
And what did you guys do next? Start hiring developers?
Yeah. We hired a few engineers, a few developers, and then we basically started out. I think we're 5 people squeezed into a tiny room when we started, and then it was actually pretty like slow the first 4 or 5 months until the big bang just hit us. Where like I think we are closing 1 or 2 clients per month. For the first actually just right, we were closing customers right when we started, and we actually had 10 customers that are kind of signed up prior to launch. So we started out with 10 customers, and then we were adding 1 or 2 every month. Then I just remember I came back from summer vacation, and at that point we had been live with this first cohort, and apparently they had started to tell a lot of other people about, like, hey, we just found the perfect finance solution. So I just got like one phone call after the other from so many different people after that summer vacation. It's like VCs, business angels, even some of the biggest banks in Denmark called me up. Because they were sitting on the receiver ends of some of these financial reports from their clients, and they were all saying the same story. They were like, "Hey, Alex, I'm sitting here with like this monthly financial report from like one of my portfolio companies or one of my clients, and in the bottom corner there's a little little logo or a little banner saying powered by Scalar Finance. I have to say, I've never heard about your company before, but this is the best financial report I have ever seen in my life for a startup. I need to learn more about what you're doing." So like I was just taking these calls, and then I gave them the pitch over the phone, saying, "That's fucking amazing, man. This is a problem for our entire portfolio. I'll make you 5 intros right away." And then it just exploded. And I remember when I think we hit month number 11, we had grown from basically 0 to $1 million in revenue in ARR, and we just had to hire people.
Whoa. So from that call to your friend, and you decided that this is what you're gonna do. How long did it take you after that to have a product that you say, okay, it's now ready to get customers using it?
Yeah, well, we have had this kind of this tech plus service model at like kind of a tech-enabled approach, where we have both real CFOs in our company, and then we have our software. So when we started, we were able to bridge the early phases where, when you start a company and you build this product, in the early days it will be relatively immature, it will be a little bit buggy and stuff like that. So the reason that we were able to really hit the ground running was because we were able to promise our customers that they would not be bothered by any bugs or any deficiencies from our software, because of course it was early state. We said, like, we have real CFOs, and they will be like your customer support. They will be your actual CFO. We call it CFO partner. So it was almost a no-brainer to in most pitches, most sales conversations, for them to say yes to the solution, because they were essentially buying a solution, and it didn't matter really like what part is the software solving, what are people potentially solving.
And it took you like what, 3 months to get to that stage where the software was ready?
Like for the first year, we didn't have the software. We actually had some very advanced spreadsheets. So we had the first phase that was like people and spreadsheets based, and we had so many iterations, and because this was actually the best way to build the software, because Excel and spreadsheets is really also a computer program, right? But you can iterate much faster, much cheaper with that. So we were able to build a lot of different POCs based on the feedback from the customers, and we fed all of that to our engineering team. So our kind of product discovery cycles, they were
Yes.
like second to none. And then after a year's time, kind of we then replaced our spreadsheet with our software, and that's now 3 years ago, and then a lot of things have happened since with to that. It's been a fun journey.
Wow. So your iteration phase was somewhere around a year before you actually felt like you had that product that you could now build into the software.
Yeah, you could. I typically say, but at least that was how we looked at it in the beginning. We have two choices. We can sit down and develop this product, this
Mm-hmm.
software product, and that will take, let's just say, a year, maybe
Mm-hmm.
even longer actually, because this is pretty advanced software that we built.
Mm-hmm.
So we were actually expecting that it could take upwards of 2 years to build this,
Yeah.
what we had in mind, and we're like, no, 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 no. The way you succeed here, like you need to just get into the market. You need to get the customers. You need to get close to the customers to get that strong feedback. So that's how we actually came up with this like tech plus service model, where we're able to hit the ground running, and we just say so like win win win. Because I've just seen so many other fintechs that struggle from not being very close to their customers.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, when you buy some kind of SaaS, you get a, I don't know, customer success manager, right? Which is pretty much just a hidden salesperson, secret
Mm-hmm.
salesperson, just trying to upsell you all the time and keep you away from churning. And that is that company's contact point to you as the client. In our company, the people that are talking to the customers are people that understand the software and understand
Mm-hmm.
finance, and
Mm-hmm.
they are our secret weapon when it comes to product development and to our engineering team. So like for us, there was only these two scenarios. Either we sit down in a fucking basement for 2 years and then we just build something and then we hope that it will, be what customers want,
Mm-hmm.
or we actually just start and we can get revenue and we can get into the market. And you also know, I imagine like, speed to market is important. So we just wanted to get out there, get our hands dirty. And I'd say to some extent, at least it is a case we have been inspired by. Like, of course, it's not one to one, but Palantir has done something similar, but in a different fashion, of course. Um, they they were actually ridiculed for many years for not being a tech company, but being a glorified consultancy company. They invented this. They call it forward deployed engineer model, where they were basically building very bespoke software for their clients, and then they had their PEs that were then kind of trying to productize across all these projects and these solutions that they were building, and it's on the back of that they have really created what Palantir is today. Everybody's hyping them, but it's all based on what initially had only 20% gross margins and an extreme involvement of very technical people that were sitting at the customer side and being very close to the customers. So again, it's not a one-to-one to how we have approached it, but there are many similarities, and we were very inspired by how they were approaching it. I think a lot of software today is very different to when you were building software back in the early 2000s. Cloud came out in 1999, and after that you saw the SaaS boom. There were a lot of low-hanging fruits back then, but as the years have gone by, we have just kind of been moving up a ladder in terms of how sophisticated software we're building today, and also how advanced pain points we are attacking to some degree. So it requires different thinking. It's not the old playbook that works anymore, at least not all the time. And with a lot of low-hanging fruits being picked, and if you need to build something that is more sophisticated, then it requires much more domain expertise It's not just, putting a group of techies together and then they figure it out, right? Not in
Mm-hmm.
finance, there are some rules and some logic and stuff like that that you need
It's strict.
to kind of
It's strict.
exactly.
Even the
Yeah,
guys that work in finance are so strict because of they just get accustomed to that kind of environment. Um,
yeah.
uh, yeah. So, how did you see the knowledge from the first company impacting this startup during the initial stages?
It has actually surprised me how similar concrete and deep tech can be to software and SaaS and fintech. Um, it the products might be completely different. Like you cannot find more different products. Maybe if you
Yeah.
take a medtech product, that would be very different too. But the processes of building a company and like also building a product is very, very similar. It's
Mm-hmm.
very, very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like I'd say, especially the area, all the things related to building a company, they are one to one,
Mm-hmm.
completely one to one. So that was like, without a doubt, I would never have been able to start and build this company together with my co-founders if I hadn't been building for the last 11 years before that.
And then AI. AI is heavily integrated in this new startup that you have. How do you find working with AI and integrating AI and all of that? AI is like the most talked about topic right now.
Yeah, it is. It's So we did something very, very, very bold. Um, it's a bit more than 1 year ago, when our chief product officer he actually came to my desk. We hired him like 3 or 4 months before that. So he came into the company and he had built a lot of AI products before that. That was actually one of the reasons that we hired him. But prior to him joining, we had our product tech team try to use LLMs and try to use AI to build some different features into our existing platform. But I think we had they had been like having this project for 8 months, and where we just couldn't make it work.
Mm-hmm.
Our POCs and what we were trying to build, we just kept on running into problems with hallucinations, and it was just like it just kept on hallucinating, kept on hallucinating. I think a lot of startups have had that issue, especially when it comes to financial use cases. AI is extremely strong in text-based use cases, but when it comes to numbers, it is much it's much easier for them to start hallucinating. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway. I remember Ian there, our chief product officer, he came to my desk and then he said, Alex, I know that, we haven't really had any traction with this project with AI, but now we have. It fucking works. Like the thing we've been trying to build now for 8 months, this like relatively straightforward feature, it
Mm-hmm.
fucking works. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, that's amazing, man. Put it into the platform. Like, let's release it. Let's do some marketing. But then he said, no, 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 no. I don't think you really understand the magnitude of what I'm trying to tell you. Because before I came to you, I actually took the liberty, me and the team took the liberty to try to build 3 other POCs for 3 other use cases, things that were quite far out on our product roadmap in terms of automation. And he said, all of them, they are just incredible. So we
Mm-hmm.
benchmark some of these results with we gave the same task to some of our CFO partners, and we asked them to do the exam, and then we benchmark. And on a lot of on parameters, our POCs were beating
Mm-hmm.
some of our CFO partners. So that was a
Mm-hmm.
very eye-opening moment. So we it was so eye-opening that we said we need to take a 1 week leadership offsite to discuss how we believe this changes our approach and our strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And the first and basically the first session we had at this offsite, it was outside of London where we rented this Airbnb. There were, in our view, just to make it simple, two scenarios, two things we could do. We could either take the SaaS that we had been building now for, at that point, 3 years, and we could build AI on top. That would be easy, like very fast to execute. We just put it on and release it. But we could also go AI first and like make it a really like a truly agentic system, like agents running it all. And I think kind of the mental model that we ended up kind of using for making this decision was we said, okay, let's do a thought experiment. What do we really believe that in 5 years' time will be the winning solution in our category, in our market? Like none of us were in doubt that 100% it was going to be AI first. So it was very existential because that simply made us, we took the decision to take our existing SaaS product and basically throw most of it into the trash can and say, we are now going all in on AI. So we like the solution space and the problem space is the same. It's just we made a technical pivot in a way. And but the thing was, when we started 4 years ago, we already back then were like, okay, at some point we know like we want to use AI. We already had a lot of ideas for AI features, and that was even before the LLMs came. We just thought it was we thought it was far out in the future, and then suddenly they came. But when we're looking at it, we got so sure that like we now need to build this, and then the further we like after a couple of months where we started building, we're like, this is not just like a SaaS product. Like this is not just a for many years we called our previous platform for a strategic financial management platform. I don't think it's the most sexy word, right? But that's what we called it. But our new product was like, this is so much more than just a financial management platform. Like this is truly an AI CFO. And like you talk to it just like it's you will with a human person. And one of the killer kind of things about Noom, which is the name of and the brand of our AI CFO, is that it's not like if you think about, I don't know, ChatGPT or Claude or whatever AI product you might think about, the value you get out of that is all based on like how many times you hit your keyboard and say, hey, give me an answer to this, or hey, help me with that. Noom is proactive. Like we have built in so many different proactive things, and then it connects to your ERP system, to your bank account, and to your Slack, and then a lot of the recurring financial routines and tasks, and finance consists of a lot of recurring financial tasks. There's a reason there's what you call the month-end close process. It's because there's so many processes that just follows this month. A lot of these things we have built into Noom, so Noom will actually do it for you, and then it will just Slack you with whatever you need and whatever Noom believes that you need for your company. And that is, I think, to a large extent, one of the game changers and one of the blockbuster moments in Noom, that actually to a large extent you don't need to prompt Noom. Noom prompts you.
Yeah. Wow. That's really good. And the part that was really exciting that you mentioned was when you decided that everything that you were working on for the last 8 months, you were going to trash it and go with something new. I think only entrepreneurs can do something like that. Can make that sudden change. So much people would be so attached to what they were building before. Because people don't understand, like, to get to a working startup, how much of these iteration and pivoting you have to do and be willing to do mentally to grow with something for months and then just decide you're gonna part with it because a new and a better idea is taking shape right now. So that was just amazing. But how did you guys decide to price it?
So far we have decided on a very simple SaaS pricing model. A fixed monthly price. We have many ideas for how to do it in the future, and a lot of them are based on what a lot of others are also doing, where it's more like consumption-based, potentially activity-based, response-based. But I don't think you should never let price be, kind of an obstacle. Like, once you really get a lot of traction, then you can try to profit optimize to a large extent. In the beginning, just make it simple. Make it simple.
Yeah.
So I don't have like a strong, I don't know, academic or scientific answer to how we have done our pricing. We have talked to our customers.
Mm-hmm.
And we have looked at what logically, just makes sense. Yeah, this is a price I'm willing to pay, and so not over engineering it or overthinking it
Mm-hmm.
in a way.
Mm-hmm. And did you guys bootstrap this project, or did you get VCs on board like early on in the project?
We got the VCs on relatively early after 1.5 year, after 1 year, I think. We actually closed Denmark's biggest seed round at the time. It was back in 2022. I remember it was just kind of at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And a few months after it, that was where all the valuations they kind of crashed, and we had this mini bubble maybe, and a lot of the VC activity fell. We have raised a couple of rounds since then. So yeah, we are VC backed. So we definitely not bootstrapped. We are investing quite heavily into Noom, our AI CFO.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what would you say? I mean, you've done two projects, two very successful projects so far, and your book. How many books do you have now? On the one?
Yeah. I've actually written three. Couldn't stop with one.
Yeah, you've written three so far, right? So all
Yeah,
of
yeah.
these successful projects, like, what would you say has been your biggest struggle in creating these products?
The biggest struggle. That's a that's a difficult question. Um,
Apart from finance.
Maybe no. Yeah, yeah, except for finance. That's number one. No, not anymore, right?
Not
We are still a
anymore.
finance. I'm so fortunate that I'm using my own my
Yeah.
own product. So I'm eating my dog food, and I'd like to say that finance is definitely not a problem anymore. No, but I think what comes to mind when you ask that question is probably with Scalar Finance here, we have undergone very rapid growth, and especially when it took off, I had never tried anything like that in my life before, and it came to some extent quite unexpectedly.
Mm-hmm.
We grew from basically being 5 people, and suddenly we were 100 people,
Mm-hmm.
and the sheer number of things that happen in a company, in like just all around,
Mm-hmm.
especially relating to organization, was just something I'd never tried before.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost, the number of hours you work in periods like that is just insane, because when you have zero processes, zero structure, I remember the first thing that we needed to hire at that point, because I was doing all the selling. I was the only one who was kind of the commercials, the salesman. And so I remember, like, I basically were full-time occupied with sales conversations,
Mm-hmm.
and then I also had to hire. Didn't have and we didn't have anybody with recruiting for natural reasons. I had a quarter's time where I was doing maybe 20 job interviews per week,
Mm-hmm.
next to all the sales conversations, and
Mm-hmm.
all the selling. So the first two key hires we did was a head of sales, and then it was a head of people.
Mm-hmm.
So like getting somebody to kind of spearhead both the
Yes.
sales
Yeah.
and the recruitment. After that, I wouldn't say it became easier. I offloaded some of the task, of course. But I did remember that I was talking to a VC back then, and we were not raising, they just reached out, and one of the guys said that he had been working very closely together with Travis Kalanick in Uber, been one of the very early employees, and he would be very happy, just to chat to me a bit about, whatever challenges we were facing, and I was like, okay, that guy, you know, that might be interesting to take him up on that offer. And the reason I'm talking about this was that when I then jumped on a call with him, when I was describing, you know, hey, you know, this is how it's going, and you know, these are some of the challenges, he just stopped me so early, and he said, Alex, calm down, man. You know, what you're describing there is just totally normal scaling problems, growth problems. He called them growth problems. And he said, yes, when you hit 30 employees, then this happens. When you hit 50 employees, this happens. When you hit 70 employees, this happens. And and then, you know, and then he went on. And it was just, it was one of the first times I really felt like I was talking to somebody who truly understood exactly what we are going through. When I'd say when you are when you are like less than 20, 30, let's just say less than 30, you are still so relatively few people that everybody knows each other. And you are like this kind of family tribe kind of thing together. But after that, when you hire employee number 31 and beyond, it's like everybody cannot know each other. Everybody doesn't speak together. You get silos, you get departments, and the culture and all of that. It just really, really changes. And it's tough, man, but it's also fun, of course. You know, it's what you strive for. It's a lot of fun, but it's also tough, especially when it hits you the first time, because it's very difficult to be prepared for it.
That's amazing. It seems like you keep running into the right people when you need them, eh?
Yeah, well, I also put my, you know, I look for it, right? You know, we knew we needed to get these people on board to help out on sales and recruiting. Yeah.
Well, that's great. That's great. No, Alex, this is such an exciting story. I mean, like, I'm happy that you came on to share the story, because I think so much people are going to learn from it. Obviously, you're a smart guy. You've never been on a failing venture.
No, still crossing my fingers for that to never happen.
No. You've done a really good job on getting these startups up and running successfully, and obviously you can switch into whatever role you need to be in to get that going. Like, you know, when you were recruiting and, you know, all of that, sales, whatever you need to be. So and that's something that's you know, startup founders need to be able to do as well. So you were obviously doing the right things at the right time, and you knew when you were having the conversations with the right people, and you knew that, hey, you know that you need this person at this time. So great.
I think it's a really, really strong, you know, what you're saying there is one of the most important things I think about starting a company. It's all about the people. Like, I would never be able to start a company by myself, or at least I would never want to do it, because I need people around me, and I need people that are good at what I'm not good at. Like, I'm really good at what I do, but I need other people. It also makes the journey more fun, of course, but you need, like, the number one thing if you want to succeed and build a successful company is find smart people, smart, ambitious people. And I don't know if it sounds easier than it is. Like, you need to do an effort to find people like that. But if you do, and when you do, you can do pretty amazing things together. But companies are essentially just people, right? People and process and structures, but those were built by the people to begin with.
You're the guy to listen to. Thank you, Alex, for coming on. Really appreciate you coming on to ToolThinker and sharing this with everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much, Matt. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me on. It was amazing.